So thanks so much for joining us. My name is Chi Kim. I am the CEO of Pure Edge Inc. And I'm so excited to welcome you to one of our first webinars for Start with the Heart speaker series. And I'm just extremely excited that you get to meet this amazing human being. Her name is Tami Pyfer. I'm going to invite her. Hi, Tami. We're going to just start off. Tami, I'm so grateful that you said yes to joining us. I know you've been working, I think you might be on the road maybe half the year, maybe more, 2/3 of the year.
It's turning out to be quite a bit, yes.
I'd love for the audience just to know who you are a little bit. Just give us a little bit about your background, and then we can kind of dig in. But could you just share a little bit about your history in terms of teaching?
Sure.
That'd be
My
wonderful.
background is in special education. I was a non-traditional college student. I went back and got my degree with 3 little kids, and then got a master's degree with 5 little kids. But started out in special education. I also have a mix of politics in my blood. So I was on a city council for 8 years, and then on the state school board for 4 years as an elected official. And then what I feel like is sort of the combination or culmination of everything that I've done. I served in the Utah governor's office for 7 years as his education policy advisor. The last 7 years of Governor Herbert's administration, probably the favorite job I've ever had, hardest job I've ever had, but also my favorite. It brought politics and education and communication all together. And now I have landed at an organization called Unite, and I'm a co-creator of the Dignity Index.
No, it's amazing. I think about just your trajectory and your path leading up to this conversation, and thinking about the change in the context in which we are sort of here, whether it's in the political space or in schools, but just the huge shift. I met you actually when you were in Utah at the state agency, and I think it was just sort of a brief encounter. And then over the course of the last couple of years, we've spent some really good time together, and I'm very excited. Share a little bit about what Unite and the Dignity Index is. I would love to just give a little context before we
Sure.
let you take over.
Yeah, so Unite is an organization that had started, they had kind of pulled themselves into a little group right before I left the governor's office. And the goal was to find a way to heal the country's toxic political divides. And what role do each of us play in that? And after I came on board at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, we started to see more clearly what our role was in this political landscape and what we could do to help with that healing. And we developed what we call the Dignity Index. It's a way to score speech, and we originally designed it to score the speech of politicians so that voters could look at that and say, does that person speak with contempt or dignity? Because we know that if people, especially leaders, speak with contempt, they're not very good problem solvers. You can't call someone evil and say all these nasty things about them in an election, and then you get elected and you have to work with the other side. And so your chances go way down. And so we designed it to score politicians. And we quickly learned that everyone else wanted to use this not to score others, but to score themselves and to find better ways for themselves to communicate with others.
So interesting. When I sent out the invitation for this webinar, Tami, I talked about the mirror effect, because I think that's what struck me the most. And I think you're going to touch on that as well. I
Yeah.
think right now, just given, sort of you wake up in the morning, you see the news or you read the paper. I've gotten to the point where I just got to figure out a way to sort of not engage so much. I go down that rabbit hole so clearly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
really just having this sort of anticipation of talking to you, I just felt so much joy. So thank you so much for just being here. And I think the other piece that I wanted folks to share in is just the congratulations. USA Today's Woman of the Year for Utah. Like, that's a big deal.
Thank you. So it's humbling and exciting and rewarding for me. The exciting part is that more people pay attention to the Dignity Index because of it, because that's the honor comes from my work with the Dignity Index. So I will say thank you for that.
Oh, incredible. I want to make sure that the audience gets some time to see and hear about the Dignity Index. What's really interesting, you started this conversation out saying that it was really to gauge political speech, but in fact, you have schools now that are dignity schools.
We have Dignity schools. We have Dignity, at least one Dignity district, another one on the way, several in the wings. I think public education is really the top area of focus we have right now, just based on the incoming. We're working with elected officials at the local level and higher ed and companies, but public ed is starving for this. They want to share it with their students. I have school board members that say, this is how we need to run our meetings. I have principals who are saying, if I could do this in my faculty meeting. So yes, public ed is like at the very top of the list.
Great. I'm going to just queue up for the audience. If you do have any questions, please go ahead and put it into the Q&A box, and we'll, after about 25 minutes, we'll go ahead and make sure that we get some time to answer any questions that you might have. So without further ado, Tam, I'm going to let you take it from here and talk about the Dignity Index.
Okay, I am going to share my screen and make sure I share my sound. And hopefully you could see this.
That looks great. Great. Being
I'm trying to get it to go from my first slide from the beginning. There we go. All right. First of all, welcome to, I guess today is the National Everyone is Welcome Day. If you have not heard about what happened in Idaho in a school district outside of Boise with a teacher who'd put up this sign in her classroom and was asked to take it down by her administration. She was told that this did not meet the new district standards of the type of political banners or flags that could be displayed in schools. And she did take it down, and then she talked to her husband, and she put it back up. And what has happened since then is there's been a groundswell of people, not just in the area there in Idaho, but across the country. I'm going to show you just this really quick clip of what is happening there in.
And the goal is just to get everyone to wear them Monday the
Oh, sorry.
24th. One sign comes down, tens of thousands of signs go up and to replace it. I don't think there's any better way we can say who we are as a community than a strong message like that.
So I am like Chi in the fact that I get up every morning and I'm going, what news is there today? What am I gonna have to handle today? And a lot of times it's a lot of protests and mudslinging and contemptuous language. And so when I saw how other people in the country were rallying around this teacher in like the most dignified way I could think of, it's like, those guys are gonna do whatever they're gonna do. Guess what? We're gonna all wear t-shirts and we're all gonna support in this very positive way that I think only sometimes teachers can do. And so I'm super, super proud of our profession. Now, when I was in the governor's office, I worked with a student group that, well, I had been contacted by a student group who wanted to do like this entrepreneurship day. And they asked me if I'd participate. And I said, sure, what do you need me to do? And they said, well, for $6, if you'll send us a picture, we'll create a portrait for you. And so I sent this picture of my son. This is my oldest son. He's a musician in Provo, Utah. And I love this picture of him. I just have always thought that it was like the coolest thing. And so $6 got me this with my son, which I think is fantastic. I think it's cool. Those of you that, work with young kids on a regular basis know how cool it is for us to see the way we come across to young students. My son liked it so much, it's hanging in his studio. I liked it so much, I wanted them to do me. So I sent them this picture of me and my husband. This is Aaron. I thought we looked good, tan, happy. For $6 back, this is what I got back. Was not exactly what I had expected. And the object lesson here is just that sometimes the way we see ourselves is dramatically different than the way other people see us. And granted, these were 7 to 10-year-olds. I think my son got the 10-year-old artists. I think I got the younger group. But sometimes it can be painful when we realize that we're not coming across the way we thought we were. And I know it's been painful for me as I've worked on the Dignity Index to realize that maybe I'm not all that. I am not the kind, generous, dignified person all the time. And so this has been a real journey for me. I want to introduce you quickly to the rest of my family. This is the Pyfer clan. We took a road trip to Montana in the summer of 2021. That's where my husband was born and where I was raised. We all are smiling in this picture, but we weren't always smiling in the last few years. And let me show you why. In birth order, my oldest son's a Republican. Karen, my teacher daughter, is an independent. Kim's a Democrat. Kyle's a Democratic Socialist. Lane's a Libertarian. 5 adult kids that belong to 5 different political parties, which I think is a parenting win. When your kids can grow up and, adopt their own political identities. I'm a moderate Republican. My husband is a very conservative Republican. But since about 2015, 16 on, these labels that they carry stopped feeling like a win. And we have been influenced by this culture of contempt that surrounds us, which has just engaged me even more so in my work. You all have been a part and seen what's happened in the education landscape and how COVID, how the things that politicians say at the very top. I remember off on the left there, right after the elections in 2016, the state superintendent and the governor and I had to work on this statement asking people to please have their children be kind to others, because we had young Hispanic students in particular who stopped coming to school. They were afraid after the election. COVID made it worse. I spoke at press conferences asking people to show grace and patience. Teachers were heroes, parents were heroes, then teachers were the enemy, parents were the enemy. It was just, we lived through that and still have some scars to prove, and it's not over. Every time a politician, a high-level politician says something about public education, we feel it, which again has just deepened my resolve to do this work. So we believe that at Unite, one of our core tenets is that we're winning fights, but we're losing America. We're stuck with only 4% of Americans saying that America is working well. We're sick. More than 1 in 3 Americans have permanently broken off a relationship due to politics. And we have felt this, in our family. We haven't broken off relationships, but it's gotten tough. And then we're split. About 83% of the country believes we're more divided than at any point in our lifetimes. And think of the young people that we all work with. And this is all they know for the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years. This is how they think politics works. So we believe that the underlying problem to our division is not disagreement, not different policies, but that we have contempt for people who think differently than we do. This is a quote from Arthur Brooks in his book from 2019 called Love Your Enemies. He said, we have this cultural addiction to contempt. And if we want to solve the polarization problem, we have to solve the contempt problem. And contempt, what is it? We all know it's this disdain or disgust for someone else. They're vile. They're worthless. They're not worth talking to. Treating people with contempt, that means we dismiss them. We look down on them. We call them names or these horrible nicknames. We question their motives. And I'm going to admit to you right now, that one's hard for me. When I read things in the paper, when someone tells me about something that's happening, for me to make sense with it in my brain, sometimes I just have to go to, well, this is why they're doing it. And it's usually not a very positive motive. I have to stop myself from questioning people's motives all of the time. We attack people's characters, we mock their backgrounds, or we lump them into large groups of people and call them those people. It doesn't feel very good when we're lumped into those groups. Oh, those teachers, they're just doing this because fill in the blank. I heard this all the time in the governor's office. They're just doing this because it's such an easy job. They get the summers off and they only work 6 hours a day and they're just doing it for the money, which is laughable. But that's when you treat people with contempt, you're doing that. You're giving them a caricature almost. And we do that too. Those politicians, those bankers, those whatever. It's something we have to be very careful of. So the cost of contempt, that it's not just eroding political discourse, but as we found, it's damaging our family and our personal relationships, our work relationships. And that's why so many people are coming to us outside of politics saying, I want this in my business. I want this in my school. John Gottman, who is a revered family therapist, said that contempt is poisonous to a relationship. It makes it virtually impossible to solve a problem. That's the tagline for the Dignity Index, is we want to ease division, prevent violence, and solve problems. Dr. Gottman said that when he's counseling people and they, they're in the room with him, if one of the partners rolls their eyes at something that the other partner said, he said, that is a huge red flag. And I know that that relationship is in trouble when you roll your eyes at someone. I'm telling you that because I've never rolled my eyes the same. Again, I try not to, but every now and then it's like kind of like, oh, I can't believe those people. That's a sign of contempt where we're belittling someone. So our solution to this is dignity. Donna Hicks is an international conflict resolution specialist who worked for decades across the globe, working with Archbishop Desmond Tutu in Northern Ireland. She worked in South Africa, in Asia, and South America. And she said that in all of that work that she did with these warring factions that were coming to the table, trying to mediate, trying to develop some type of a peace agreement, she said, dignity was the strongest tool that I had. The most powerful tool that I had was dignity. If one side would show even a small gesture of dignity toward the other side, she said, that's when the conversation changed. She defines dignity as a mutual recognition of the desire to be seen, to be heard, to be listened to be treated fairly, to feel safe in the world, not just safe physically, but psychologically, safe to be in this room with you right now, knowing that I might say something that you find outrageous, but you're not going to hate me for it. You're not going to treat me with contempt for it because I feel safe. Donna said that along with our survival instincts, the yearning to be treated with dignity is the single most powerful force motivating our behavior. The universal truth about human experience is that we all want to be treated with dignity. And that if you violate someone's dignity, or in our language, if you treat them with contempt repeatedly, you'll get a war or a divorce or a revolution, because a desire for revenge is an instant response to a dignity violation. Think about it. When someone has shamed you or humiliated you, embarrassed you intentionally, especially intentionally, like I feel this anger kind of start to rise from my gut up into my throat. And it's hard to battle that instinct to say, I'll get you. Don't worry. I will get even with you. Something will happen. You want that raise, you want this, you want that. Don't worry. I got it. I'll remember this day. And actually, it is really hard for us to forget those times that we have been hurt or shamed or humiliated. That's the danger of contempt. So treating people with dignity, what does that look like? We offer them care and attention, making sure they feel free to speak. Hearing what they've been through, giving them the benefit of the doubt. That's my antidote to questioning someone's motives, is I have to remember that I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt, because I know how it feels when people give me the benefit of the doubt. We make people feel like they belong. We acknowledge their gifts and accomplishments. I want to introduce you to my colleague, Tim Schreiber, here, and listen to what he has to say about the way we talk to one another.
The way we talk to each other is sometimes hidden from us. We sometimes think we can convince someone of our point of view by humiliating them. And we don't stop to pause and say, wait a second, is that likely to work? Is it likely to be successful that by calling you names, by accusing you of horrible qualities, by humiliating you for your position, you're going to be won over? The answer is clearly no. Actually, what works to actually win people over, just practically speaking, is letting them be seen and heard and feel like their point of view matters too, even if you disagree with it. So we're not trying to tell people to suppress your point of view. We're trying to say that in the other is God-given, if I can use that language, dignity. Don't violate it. Don't attack in a way that is likely to make that person descend towards the same kind of acrimony and hatred. And let's also be clear, the stakes here are high. For our country, we've looked at this through history. Violent-sounding speech leads to violence. Hatred leads to violence. It's not just divisiveness, which is problematic. It's not just emotional pain or relationship breakdowns, which are very painful, but it's also the risk to the cultural fabric and to being able to solve problems that matter. So dignity is a notch higher than being nice or civil. It's actually seeing in the other some of yourself. The way
So the shorthand that we have for contempt and dignity is this. Contempt is this feeling of disgust or disdain. We label people, we avoid people, we judge people. I see myself above you, which increases separation. Dignity is this inherent worth we all have from birth. I don't see myself above you. I see myself in you. There's part of me in you. And dignity decreases this separation that we feel. So if that's the solution to our problem, which we think it is, how do we move forward? The difficulty is, how do you improve behavior that you can't measure? I learned this in my special education years. If I write an IEP, it's like, I want the student to do this. Great. How do you measure that? What does it look like now? What do you want it to look like? How do you describe that behavior? That's what we're trying to do with dignity. Representative Emmanuel Cleaver said, we get scored on everything as a congressman. Nobody scores us on how we treat each other. Enter the dignity index. Now we do. So again, our tagline is to ease division, prevent violence, and solve problems. And the dignity index, they're on our website. I mean, this is it. This is the whole thing. This is a teacher's dream. It's like this one card intervention. It's not even an intervention. It's a framework, but it's meant to be used when we are in conflict with someone, when we disagree with someone, when we are angry, when we're hurt, when we're fearful. How do we react in those moments of conflict? And it goes from the scale of 1 to 8, with contempt being at the bottom side of the scale and dignity at the top side of the scale. I'm going to walk you through it really quickly, and then we're going to practice for just a second. So I'm going to start at the middle of the scale. The 4 is the first step into contempt. And this is when you're saying, we're better than those people. They don't really belong. They're not one of us. 3 means we're the good people and they're the bad people. It's us versus them. 2, not only is it us versus you and I'm good and you're bad, but you're evil. And you're going to ruin everything if I let you. It's always us for them. 1, they're not even human. It's our moral duty to destroy them before they destroy us. So this is the language of political violence. This is genocide. But if you think about it, if you're this other side and in your mind, they're evil, they're destroying everything. Well, if you want to protect your country, your family, your livelihood, that's when these calls for violence become real threats and people act upon these calls. So let's get to the happy side of the scale. 5 means, the other side has a right to be here and a right to be heard. They belong here too. Sometimes I think of this as like you do you. You do you. I don't agree and I'll talk to you, but it's okay. We all belong. 6, we always talk to the other side. So this is when I'm looking for those interests and values that we share so that we can work together and we can move forward by focusing on these things that we can do together. 7 is when you're looking for those things that you don't agree on and you want to fully engage. And once you start to hear more and learn more and listen more, you may find that you were wrong. You've changed your mind on something, or you made a mistake. And being able to admit that you might be wrong or you made a mistake, that's a 7. And that's like the most beautiful behavior there is. And then 8 at the top of the scale. This is when we can say, look, everyone is born with this, with dignity, right? With inherent worth. So we treat everyone with dignity no matter what. So this is what this looks like in real life. As we do our work anyway, when we started to score speech and validate the instrument, which we did with the University of Utah. John McCain, this is when he ran against then Senator Barack Obama. I've always believed that America offers opportunities to all who have the industry and will to seize it. Senator Obama believes that too. We would call that on our scale a 6. Okay, I believe this, he believes this. We're going to work together. These are the things we have in common. We have more in common than we think. How about this one? He's still a buffoon and a horrible host. McAfee's biggest problem, I'll tell you what it is. His ego can't handle living in the shadows of the far more popular, way more talented Stephen A. Smith. These are sportscasters, which I did not know. That's a 4. Okay, we're better than those people. They don't belong. They're different. We're going to talk about our differences and just sometimes even name call. That's a 4. How about this one? Taylor Swift is a psycho. She's the cancer of the music industry. Seriously, never seen such a famous, hungry, and stats-obsessed artist in my life. We scored this one a 3. So now I'm attacking the moral character of someone. I'm disdainful. Those people hate us. We're the good people or the bad people. I could make a case, if you look at this language, I could make a case actually for a 2 on this one, dropping it down. When you call someone the cancer of the music industry, that's sinking pretty low on the dignity index. How about this one? We, the people, are obliged to take responsibility ourselves and wipe out this scum. Do not be afraid. Know that anyone whose neck you do not cut is the one who will cut your neck. That's a 1. This is a quote from Leon Mugesera, who is serving a life sentence for his role in the Rwandan genocide. Anyway, you get the gist of this. I'm just going to go through these quickly. It's his right to say whatever he wants. I'm not about canceling people. That's a 5. This one is beautiful. This is Benjamin Franklin. I'll let you read it on the screen. I'm just going to pull out a couple of quotes from here. When he says that in many instances, I've changed my opinion, even on important subjects that I thought were right, but I found later to be otherwise. I'm apt to doubt my own judgment and to pay more respect to the judgment of others. This is a 7, a classic 7. And then this one from Desmond Tutu, where he's sat with men on death row. He's visited child soldiers, people who have done horrific things. And I've recognized in each of them a depth of humanity that was a mirror of my own. He's not saying we don't hold people accountable anymore. We're not saying everything's okay. I feel bad for you. We're saying, yeah, you're probably going to be held accountable for all of these horrific things, but we will treat you as a human being. We will treat you with dignity. So, but what if they really are ruining everything? Those people. Tim will often say, whenever we start to say those people, we have to remember that we're those people. I want to introduce you quickly to our other colleague, Tom Rochert, who is the lead architect of the Dignity Index, and listen to what he has to say. And then we'll wrap up for the last couple of minutes.
You can make a powerful case and challenge an opponent and hold someone accountable and do it with dignity. And the way that would be done is you're not doing any name calling. That's out. You're not labeling someone. You're not sneering at them. That's gone. And then you take up the criticism in the language of decisions, actions, the outcome of those actions, who gets hurt, and you invite the other person to respond. And if you really want to take it to a higher level, instead of saying just, this is who you are, you move to, this is what you do, and you move better than that to, this is the thing that you did, to ultimately, maybe, this is what we can do together. So if you're challenging someone with dignity, it's more like you're trying to solve a problem than win an argument. So it's not common. We don't see a lot of examples in our culture, but it's absolutely possible. And as we continue our movement, we'll have many more ready examples to show, but absolutely without a question, it is possible to hold someone, to challenge someone, and to hold them accountable and still treat them with dignity.
So this is the group of students, undergraduate and graduate students from the University of Utah that helped us validate this instrument in the fall of 2022. And as they were doing this project, within just a few days, with some of them, even a couple of weeks with others, they were going, wait a second, this is me. One of the young women who works for us now said, I was listening, and I was so happy to get on this project because I was going to score those evil Republicans. She's a Democrat. This young gentleman who also works for us is a Republican. She said, I just couldn't wait to show how bad they were. And she said, as I started to learn about the index, I realized that this was me. And I had to unfollow people. I had to stop listening to some podcasts and some YouTube commentators that I listened to because they were using contempt and I was blaming other people. So that's the mirror effect that she talked about. Hopefully you've all seen this. This is our own Maxine mirror effect moment.
Are you smart? Yeah. Are you strong? Yeah. Are you brave? Yeah. Are you pretty? Yeah. Are you kind?
Not really.
Not really, she says. Mm-mm. Okay, let me just show you really quickly. We've got all these materials on our website, but we have adapted the Dignity Index for K-12. We call it our Youth Edition. And we have school districts that have adopted this and are adapting the materials for their scale or for their schools. What we've done is we've just made the language a little bit more age appropriate for K-8. High school students are typically using our regular index. This little mini one in the middle here is a card if you want to do this for your littles, for your K-2 or K-3, to where they just have a 2, 4, 6, 8 scale, and the language is still the same, but then when they get to 4th or 5th grade and teachers want to implement it more fully than they do the full scale. High school students are picking this up. Student body officers have made these little bracelets in the Salt Lake School District. And I mean, this is like from the student body officers at this high school that we're going to be visiting in a couple of weeks. We have a Students for Dignity Club at university campuses, but also high school students that want to do this in their schools. So I'm going to close with this quick video that you get to see Tim, Tom, and I making a passionate plea to you for dignity in the Dignity Index.
We believe that there's no America without democracy.
There is no democracy without healthy debate.
And there is no healthy debate without treating each other with dignity.
Look, for the first time in the history of polling, more than half of Americans don't think we can solve our problems. Over 100 million Americans have ended a relationship within their family or within their close friends. What's at stake when we dehumanize one another is the mental health of our children, the strength of our relationships, and the confidence we have that our country will make it.
The cause of division is contempt. Contempt is basically saying, if you don't agree with me, I'm attacking you. Well, what that means is free speech for me, but not for you. And dignity is the absolute opposite of that. A dignity culture is say what you think, but in a way that encourages other people to say what they think.
Many people would say, well, that's never going to happen. It's human nature to dehumanize. It's also human nature to show compassion. It's also human nature to show bravery in the face of adversity.
We ask people to pledge then to do more to treat others with dignity and not contempt. So if you're an educator, if you're an elected official, if you're a business manager, we want you. The movement starts one person at a time and grows. And before you know it, we have the dignity movement that has spanned the entire country.
So welcome to the Dignity Movement. I've just already enlisted you. If you would like to learn more, this is a QR code to our link tree. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can go onto our website. We have lots of materials, especially for educators. So thank you for your patience and thanks for being part of the movement.
Tami, that was so wonderful. Every time I get an opportunity to be around you, I feel better. So thank you for that.
You're very sweet.
I put into also the chat box or into the Q&A box a link to the newsletter. So we hope that you get an opportunity to sign up. There's wonderful materials that come in and thoughts from both Tami and Tim, and then most recently with Tom as well. And I just wanted to share too, I'm going to give a shout out to Tom. This is his new book, Chasing Peace. So I purchased this great reading. And I'm always in awe of people sharing so much personal insight and also pain and suffering, and then also being able to put it all down. So this is Tom's new book, Chasing Peace, that's out right now. And I think, Tami, I just want to say thank you for just caring. I think caring about your local community, but also caring about our country and caring about kids. And I think just the fact that you have sort of started in the school setting and continue to be a teacher always. I'm just very, very grateful. I know for those of you who are joining us for the Lunch and Learn, we hope that you got some bite of knowledge. If for those of you who are just here because you were curious, we hope that you stay curious and sign up for the link. You can sign the pledge. And we'll give you more opportunities to get to know Tami, Tim, and Tom as well as we go through the spring. We know that it's a hard time right now for a lot of folks, and so we want to try and give you just little snippets of a window of joy. And here's what I do know. If you surround yourself with people who are moving forward and have a light, and we just want to keep capturing that so we grow and shine a little bit brighter each day as well. We did have a couple of questions. Tammy wanted to know if they would be able to get the slide deck. I don't know if you want to share that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. What I'd like to do is I'll put it into a PDF because I have lots of links, videos that I didn't have time to show you. So I'll put the links in there and I'll send you a PDF that you can send out with the links embedded.
Perfect. And we'll go ahead and do that at follow up. And then the one thing that I will say that if you go to the website, the videos are there. They've got all their social media. You can also follow them on, I think it's Instagram, on Twitter. Are you on Facebook as well, Tammy?
Yeah, it automatically posts to Facebook. We don't spend a ton of time on it, but it does post to Facebook. And we have a YouTube channel, and that's where we post a lot of these new videos that you're free to download and put into your own presentations, those kind of things that if you ever want to share.
Great. Thank you so much. So all those opportunities are available. And if you are, I'm going to read one. It says, we see eating as one aspect of humanity. So I think that having conversations over sharing a meal might be a dignified way to have a conversation. Yeah, breaking bread always, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's wonderful. So for those of you who joined us and taking some time on a Monday to meet the Woman of the Year, we appreciate you being here with us. I can't stop saying it. I know your daughter's here too, so I'm just going to say that. Like, what a lucky daughter and family. Anyways, have a wonderful time. I know we're going to see each other soon. I'll see you in Salt Lake City in a few weeks.
Yes.
And for those of you who joined us today, thank you so much. We hope that you sign up for the newsletter. We hope that you buy Tom's book right here, Chasing Peace. We hope that
Beautiful book.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And we hope that you find one little snippet that you might be able to use today. And if you are going back to your classroom, maybe you can download the Dignity Index and pull up some quotes and try to rate them. So have a wonderful week ahead. And if you are interested in any more Lunch and Learns, we have another speaker coming in April. His name is John B. King Jr. He wrote a book called Teacher by Teacher. He's a former Secretary of Education for the United States, and he also is now currently the Chancellor of SUNY in New York. And so he'll be joining us as well to talk about his book and share a little bit about his opinions of what's happening as well. So with that, we are signing off, and we will see you all soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Tammy.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Chief, for having me. Thank you.